Thank you very much, Chloe, for having me here. And so, hi, everybody. Thank you for joining my session today at Power Saturday Paris. And it's great to be here for the second time. My session today is going to be about Microsoft 365 integration experiences, the key tools being SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, Stream, and Yammer. Of course, you know, Microsoft 365 is a lot bigger, so it does integrate a lot more tools, but I only have 1 hour, so these are the core tools I'll be concentrating. Just before we get started, a bit about myself. I'm Chirag Patel. I work with Patel Consulting here in the London, UK, and I've been working with IT for many years now, but mainly focus on the Microsoft 365 tech. And so over the years, I've had the opportunities to work with the end user organizations as well as the Microsoft partners to help deliver solutions to their customers. Feel free to connect with me on my blog site, which is techchirag.com, and also through social media as well. And I mainly post all the updates, all the goodness that comes out of Microsoft 365. And in my spare time, if I get any, I tend to focus on learning and keep up with my certifications as well. I also speak at the community events, mainly around UK and Europe. And so these are some of the events I've spoken at. And also I tend to post all my slides after every event, including the one for today. You can check back in an hour's time. And the slides will be there. So hopefully you'll pick something from that may help you in your further learnings. OK, so kind of brief introductory slides to begin with, because the rest of the session is all demonstration based. But if we start from the premise of Microsoft 365, and it is, you know, without the shadow of a doubt, it's a huge platform comprising of all these apps and services. Depending on where you are in your organization, you may not have switched on everything else, but eventually your users will be overwhelmed by all these tools. And so depending on, you know, whether you're a kind of a information worker or a manager or, you know, somebody in IT, you can work your tools in its, you know, in its kind of intensity as much as you like. But the key thing for the users is what's in it for them as to why and sometimes which tool can they use for what. So I tend to put this in this kind of a one slide format that, you know, for sure we use Yammer, we use Stream, we use Teams, SharePoint, what have you. But if you ask yourself the key questions, you know, what is it that you do in the organization to deliver Microsoft 365? So for example, you know, you may use SharePoint and Yammer for your internal communication needs. An example of document management there is, you know, you may want to store your contracts, agreements with workflows and everything else inside SharePoint. And so you may provide that as a service, as a document management capability. But then you've also got things like project management or even building the business applications, which is, you know, by far overtaking, you know, with the use of Power Platform, Power Apps and everything else. So for a user, if you put this in this context, then they have a clear idea as to what the purpose of these technologies is that they use. And so with that in mind, you can then, you know, make it a lot more easier whether to use SharePoint or Microsoft Teams. And for sure, Microsoft Teams tends to be now the most frequently used application in our kind of day-to-day work environment. So hopefully this kind of gives you an idea in terms of setting the scene as to why, you know, we all use Microsoft 365 to cater our own business needs and requirements. The basis of all the applications and services you have within Microsoft 365 is fundamentally based on Microsoft 365 groups. So, you know, whether you create Microsoft Teams chat workspace or SharePoint, it really doesn't matter. In the background, it's creating a Microsoft 365 group. So when you look at the as a box of Microsoft 365 group, then not only you're getting a SharePoint team site, but also you're getting a Outlook mailbox, being able to share the group-based conversations through emails, the calendars, you can share that as well as being able to use OneNote, which lives inside the SharePoint site. But also you're able to then connect to around 200 odd services as well, such as Planner, Microsoft Forms, and the list just grows. So bear in mind that what you use your tools for, fundamentally there's a dependency behind it for Microsoft 365 group. And I come across many organizations sometimes when they create too many Microsoft Teams chat workspaces, they're not knowing that they're creating too many groups in the background. And sometimes they tend to overlap with also your SharePoint team sites that you may already have created before even Microsoft Teams came about. So kind of worth bearing in mind that that's kind of the glue of Microsoft 365 as well. Okay, so briefly, I don't probably need to introduce any more detail around Microsoft Teams because we all use it, but essentially, as Microsoft puts it, it's the hub for teamwork. It's the place where we collaborate and have conversations and chats with our colleagues and the teams throughout the organization. But also we're able to customize the channels as well as the Teams chat workspace with different integration experiences. And then furthermore, it's still supported by your overall Microsoft 365 security and compliance, depending on what policies you've implemented. And so this obviously is the kind of a single pane of glass for a lot of the things that we do. When you compare that with say SharePoint, which has been around for nearly 20 years now, and yes, from day one, SharePoint was the collaboration workspace technologies that does a lot of things. But when you look at it from a SharePoint perspective, yes, all the files inside your Microsoft Teams lives inside your SharePoint, but also it does a lot more than that. And especially if you're new to Microsoft Teams and you've never heard of SharePoint, then it is worth bearing in mind that a lot of the experiences and the features you get with SharePoint, such as being able to create web pages, news posts, being able to create your lists for, say, suppliers or your tracking lists as web tables, as well as being able to create SharePoint sites as well. So you can do a lot more, and there is a framework out there that you can customize your entire SharePoint site to kind of suit various degrees of requirements. So worth kind of clarifying the difference between Teams and SharePoint, but they still work together and glued together. So they kind of, if you like, better together as an integrated experience. Worth mentioning that even though it's all the files and through Microsoft Teams, you still access your OneDrive as well as your team files inside your channels. All these files fundamentally live inside SharePoint. And so when you create your chat workspaces and every channel that you have, then essentially they're your folders inside your main document library, which is your main repository for your files. And so you can see those URLs in that illustration there as to what that looks like, depending on what teams and channels you have. But it doesn't stop there, because you can go one step further and still be able to create additional document libraries to have some maybe security applied to it, maybe store confidential documents, what have you. So you can still do all that within the single SharePoint site that is associated with Microsoft Teams chat workspace. Whereas OneDrive, when you're having your ad hoc group chats and any files you share between, say, the 2 or 3 people, the members of your of that ad hoc group, then the person who shared the file resides in their OneDrive. So worth bearing in mind that if that user leaves the organization, then after a period of time, those files will be deleted and you just won't be able to access. So the trick here is that as soon as your collaboration journey starts to kick off, then it's worth kind of shifting that load of files, your work, into SharePoint as a team chat workspace. Otherwise, your files will be all over the place. So a number of ways when you do create, implicitly, you're not creating SharePoint team site kind of knowingly, because with Microsoft Teams, when you create your chat workspaces, it's creating the SharePoint site for you. But this kind of slide depicts that if you do have additional requirements to be able to create, such as Outlook groups or even a planner, then it's going to create a SharePoint site specifically for that purpose. So you could potentially have so many SharePoint sites if you're not careful as to what the purpose of each of those sites are. Okay, so just before we jump into the demos, and then the rest of the slides in this presentation are kind of, if you like, all the demo-based screenshots. So, it's just there in case I have problems with the demos here. But when you look at the SharePoint team site, there's only so much you can do with it. For sure, you create a SharePoint site. You can connect that with your Microsoft Teams, so you can then simply just add your SharePoint site to it. And if you want to then collaborate externally, you can just simply turn that on for external sharing. And that's kind of, if you like, a very cut down way of getting your site up and running very quickly. But then you can extend that further by posting news pages, designing those pages, what you see, what you get kind of toolings in the page, but also being able to synchronize your files and create additional components within your SharePoint site, such as lists, and as well as being able to customize with Power Apps and Power Automate, should you need to do that. So you can do all that inside your SharePoint. And then obviously it integrates with all your Microsoft 365 group planner and everything else, which is what we're going to take a look to begin with. Okay, so that's enough of the introductory slides. So let's head over to our first demo. So here I am. So this is my fictitious company, Contoso Electronics, which I'm sure by now you all love. So here I have one of the SharePoint site, which is sales and marketing. Nothing special about this. It's not even customized. It's, you got your menu on the left hand side. You got your header bar at the top, and then you got portions of content inside your site. So you got your news elements there. You have the activity, which is dynamically generated as and when things happen inside your site, or even through your Microsoft Teams. If files get modified, all that gets captured inside your site activity element, including if you send emails to your group members as well. So that gets captured in the activity as well. So that's the home page, and you can create multiple pages, and you can then, for every page you have the purpose for it, you can bring all that out. So if we look at into, if you like, this page, then you can have all the other the components with it. But you don't have to kind of go into the SharePoint site for this particular page. What you can do is you can go into your Microsoft Teams, and if I go into my sales and marketing team general channel, and I can go and create a couple of things to do with SharePoint. So by clicking on the tab, I've got my options that I can choose of the apps. So in particular, I'm interested is SharePoint. And so within the SharePoint side of things, I've got my two options. I've got my pages or lists. So in my pages, I can choose the sales and marketing. And this is the page we were just looking at, which has got all the news and activity elements to it. And if I go ahead and save that, then that will bring that home page, which is associated with this team chat workspace, into this tab here. And the advantage of this particular tab is that not only it brings my news and everything else, obviously the menu that I had over here, that kind of disappears. But what I do get is all the links that I have on that page, as well as the activity in here as well. So this is kind of, if you like, a way to reduce so much of content clutter that you may have as additional tabs into a single tab. So being able to then browse to your entire page, all within Microsoft Teams. So nice and easy way to bring that site homepage inside your Microsoft Teams. The other thing you can do is also bring the news pages as well. So if I click on add a tab again, Then if I go into SharePoint, then I can also bring my different news items that I have. So let's say I've got my new international marketing initiatives there. So I can bring that as well. And that's just a SharePoint page living inside that. So instead of bringing everything else around it, I've got my news page that, with the image and everything else on that. So if I want to highlight a particular report or any kind of update or project updates, project status report is a good one where you can actually have a page for every status reports, and then you can bring that inside your tab as well. But also you can go, I'm just going to quickly remove this for now, but you can also bring the entire news kind of gallery, if you like, within here as well. So again, if I go back to the news there, then probably not that one, I think. Yeah, so I can also bring another news column gallery, so I can have my headlines of news pages laid down this way. So I've got a number of options to display my pages, and not just pages from this SharePoint site, but I can also bring from another SharePoint site inside this sales and marketing team as well. So you may have seen that as well. If I go back into SharePoint, then you have this link at the top, add a page or a list from any SharePoint site. So that's kind of if you like, a brief kind of demo around that for the pages. But also what I can do is I can also bring lists, and lists are kind of powerful. I know, just now in the Microsoft build, Microsoft lists were announced. That's kind of coming around the corner, if you like. But in the meantime, you have SharePoint lists, which have been around for many years now. But you can also bring those lists inside your team chat space as well. So again, SharePoint tab, and click on my lists tab. And here I have one list called product list. So I can just go and bring that list in here. And again, it's a web table. There's nothing special about it. It's a kind of a list of data, rows and columns, but it does look a bit black and white. So you can actually format that, kind of add some color to it, and kind of easily you can just go into by, if you like, in all items there, the view options, and you can just format the current view. So I can change that to my conditional formatting, and I can just quickly add my rules in there as well. So for example, I can say edit this rule and choose my column. So this is my tables here, so I can choose product type. So there's my product type. Is equal to, let's say, I don't even have to type anything, it just gives me all the options. So I'll just say choose SL camera, and add another condition if I wanted to, and I can just kind of go on with that. So once I've kind of done that, then what I can do is I can choose my colors, and I can say make that green. So instantly in the preview, it's just showing me that's what it's going to look like. And I can go ahead and save that, so that every time when I come to this list, I've got my key highlighted items in there as well. So very kind of easy way to integrate and bringing your SharePoint experiences inside Microsoft Teams through both pages as well as news pages, and also being able to format your lists, and also being able to bring your also be able to format your documents as well. So if I go into files, then in say monthly reports, then the files you see here are exactly the ones that I have inside my SharePoint. And so this files experience lives in a number of different places as well. So if I go back to my sales and marketing SharePoint site, and those files that you saw is within my documents main document library, and there's a monthly reports folder, which is that channel in Teams we saw. So nothing different, same sort of files, but I can see these files also inside in Outlook as well. Excuse me. So within the site card, I've got my instant kind of site card information here. So it not only tells me the apps that I can get to here, but also kind of quick way to look at emails regarding this particular sales and marketing, have a quick peek at those emails as well as those files, which is mainly the ones in monthly channel we saw. So I can go in there and I can still go and search for files inside that particular box. I don't have to leave my SharePoint to go anywhere else. It's all in here. But also I can go back to About screen and go to the mail. Oh. Sorry, I thought I lost my connection there. Chloe, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you, but yes, we have a problem.
Okay, sorry, apologies. Okay, that's great.
That's fine.
All right, so yeah, I'm trying to get to the files. For some reason, it's not coming back to me. Let me try that one more time. So go into Outlook, and if it doesn't want, then I'll much better. Great. Okay, no, don't want to do that. But yeah, so once I go into this the associated Outlook group, sales and marketing, then in here I can also see my group files as well. So inside my Outlook, I can see all those key files that I've kind of modified, as well as my team structure of folders, all inside my inbox. And the point here is that whatever the tool you're comfortable with, whether it's Teams or Outlook or even SharePoint, then you still can access your files from all these different apps, and it's a single version of truth, so there's no difference about those files. So hopefully that kind of gives you a kind of a quick way to see how easily you can move around different apps and services and being able to access all your files. Okay, so we'll go back to the slides. So we had a look at the site activity page, which we brought into Teams. Then we also had a quick look at the formatting of your files, as well as being able to look at the news pages and also the lists in there as well. So kind of, a very kind of mini summary, if you like, when it comes to those differences between OneDrive, Teams and SharePoint. OneDrive is purely for your personal use, maybe to kick off the collaboration. But it's your personal private, files are default by private, whereas in Teams it's kind of if you're more like for your immediate teams that you're working with, whether it's projects, your departments, or even just an ad hoc initiative that you may have to bring that project's that teamwork in place. So you can have teams for that. And then for your SharePoint is not just content collaboration, but also being able to use for your intranets as well as even like a wider perspective of document management, if you have a strict controls to manage your documents through security and compliance and everything else. And you can still collaborate inside Teams for those SharePoint sites if you have to bring some aspects of those files or document libraries inside SharePoint. Okay, so next up, what we're going to look at is Microsoft Stream. And again, depending on from your organization's perspective, you may or may not have switched this on for your users, but nevertheless, it is very complementary. It's very powerful, and as they say, pictures, videos, kind of paints and tells 1,000 words in kind of in a short sort of space of time. So you got essentially, with Microsoft Stream, yes, it's your video sharing kind of service inside your Microsoft 365. And you're able to upload those videos, whether it's your groups, and these are Microsoft 365 groups, and to that effect, your Microsoft Teams. So you can have those videos specifically for those teams. or you can have those videos uploaded into those channels, and these are channels inside Stream, and they're very different and not related to Microsoft Teams channels. So that's one thing to bear in mind. Doesn't help, the name is called the same, so it can be confusing, but they're totally different. And also, just last month, Microsoft Stream introduced a way to now record your screens as well. So you're now able to record and do your screen capture, and whether that's your training videos or simple guides or even a procedure for a particular operation or something. And then also, you're able to do live events. So many of the conferences that are happening virtually now are using Microsoft Teams live events, and they can be both private to your organization or they can be public as well. So you have that flexibility around hosting your kind of your company meetings as well as kind of community events as well. And then you've got your watch list as well as being the integration of apps, which we're going to look at in a minute, but also being able to interact with Microsoft Forms as well. So being able to step inside the video and kind of interrupt the audience to kind of give them provide a way to capture feedback and all those things. So that's kind of a very brief overview around what Microsoft Stream can do. And so when you look at the integration points, if you like, so yes, you can go inside SharePoint, you have a Stream web part, being able to bring them to your pages, and you can display them in a number of different ways, either through a list of all the videos for a specific Stream channel or a single video, or maybe just display the entire Microsoft Stream inside your SharePoint site as a kind of a video gallery. But also within Yammer, you can post them as a video links and being able to still create live events for a particular Yammer group as well, or Yammer communities, which is what it's called nowadays. And then with Microsoft Teams, which is what we're going to look at as well, very rich integration of Microsoft Teams inside that. We'll look at a brief overview of the forms side of things in order to bring that inside our Stream video. And also, something we won't get a chance to look at is that within a PowerPoint slideshow, you're able to publish that into Microsoft Stream from inside PowerPoint. And also, if you use OneNote for your meeting notes and everything else, you can just post a link to your Stream video, and it will literally just show that Stream video inside OneNote. So you don't have to really step out. And so the whole experience with any of these apps is immersive and being able to kind of keep you engaged in the work that you do. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So let's head over to Microsoft Teams. So if I come into, so I'm just going to close that down and close. Okay, so if I go into my general channel for marketing, so I'm going to just remove that. Okay, just wanted to clear up the estate a little bit there. So if I go into here, I can go in a number of ways. I can go into my app railbar, and I can just simply, if my organization has kind of deployed Stream to make it available, then I can go in through that. And by default, what you'll see here is your watch list. So if you favorite those videos that you don't have time to watch them now, but you want to watch it later, then your personal list of your personal favorites, if you like, that you want to watch, they come into your watch list. And so this can be used in a number of different ways, whether you're building a kind of a learning path, if you like, for a set of videos, so you can build that into your watch list as well, or maybe a collection of reference. If a new employee is going to start, then you can actually easily pinpoint that particular video here and then be able to share that link to them. So you can bring your watch list in here as well, but also being able to go into your Teams and deploy that in a number of ways. So if I go into sales marketing channel, general channel, then I can go and add my Stream tab in there as well. And so here I've got two options. I can either display a stream channel, and so in this case I have a stream channel called products. So again, I don't have to go into come on, there is that name. Is product. Okay. Let's try one more. Safety. Okay, always the case when you want this to work and it doesn't work. Let me go find me a different team. Go to US sales. Channel. Okay, let me just go to stream. Just going to quickly head over to Microsoft Stream. Let's do I, because it should give me an option to search and be able to go to it. So here's my Microsoft Stream, and once I go to the home page, then I've got my set of videos, and in particular, yeah, there is a products channel. So why did that not show up? Okay, let's try one more time. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just go and put the link. Okay, so it works like that way, but the search should equally work. I don't know what happened there. And I can just say products, videos, and then just go ahead and save that. So now what I will see here is a bunch of videos that's specifically to that product channel. And that product channel can be a company-wide channel or a kind of a specific channel inside a group, which is Microsoft 365 group. So from a security perspective, if you have channels inside your Microsoft 365 group, which is your stream groups, then those videos will only be viewable by the members of that team. But here again, it's a good way to organize your videos in channels, stream channels, and be able to then showcase a section of videos like these into various tabs if you wanted to. So a good way of doing this is usually like an onboarding type exercise for a new people joining the organization, so they can go through a series of videos to watch that. So that's kind of a good way of doing it, but you can also display a single video as well. So, you know, we saw that earlier, and I won't probably do that now, but same sort of thing. Instead of channel, you just go in video and you can put that in your tab. And the same kind of, if you like, the same the same channel series you have here is I can also go into my the sales site. So if I go back to my sales marketing site, and so home page here, I'll edit this SharePoint home page, and then in here I can just go and hover around this web part area, which is the building block of a page. I can go and search for stream. And so in there, I've got a few options inside my SharePoint site. So straight away, it brings me all the videos inside my stream, and I haven't even published the page, so I get a nice little preview. But I can go and click on channel, and I can just go and paste my channel address link in there, and so I get my products in there as well. So a good way to bring that particular experience inside SharePoint page, and then that whole page, like we saw earlier, I can bring this entire page inside a single tab for Microsoft Teams. So again, I'm saving some kind of a screen estate, if you like, on the team chat space by bringing the activities as well as the videos and the news inside that. The other thing I wanted to show you is the interaction aspect of it. So if I go into my video, in fact, first what I'll do is I'll go into Microsoft Forms, which is the form that I want to be able to put inside my video. The purpose here is that, you know, when you got to say something like a safety video and you want to ask questions, or maybe even just get the acceptance for them to say that they've watched the video, you can use this form in a number of sort of ways. So let's go to Microsoft Forms. So come back to my office.com, and here's my forms. So these are my kind of forms which I can use for many things. Again, I can have my individual forms. I can also have group forms. So this is still same as your Microsoft 365 groups. So here's one I created earlier, but I'll create a new one. And so if I go and give this a name, call this feedback form. Video. Go and add my questions, choose a choice, and just say something like, how is the video quality content? Something like that. And kind of say, good. And then I get my options here. So I'll say poor, I'll add excellent or whatever. So I get my choose, I can build my form very quickly like that way. I'll add another question, and this time I'll just add a text column to say comments, please. And that way, once I've done this, I can then just go and say, or maybe even just add a nice background to it as well. And then I can just go ahead and share that form, and I'll grab a copy of that link. But I can, post that elsewhere as well in SharePoint and other places. But specifically, I'm going to go back to my Microsoft Teams, Stream, and I'm going to go into the government compliance video. I'm going to stop that video, so I don't want that to play. But what you see here is that when you play any particular video, so you got your transcript, you got your basic properties of your videos, everything else. But in here, I've got this tab here called interactivity tab. So here, I'm going to add my form, and I'm going to just paste that URL that I had, and I'm going to then just add that to the timeline. Again, I can add that particular form anywhere inside this video. So this is a 15-second video. I can add that anywhere I wanted to, but I've kind of put it there for 1 second there. And add to the timeline. So there's my form that I just created in there. It's in there. So now if I play that video, so you can see that straight away that video got interrupted by this particular form that I have. So it just says, hi Chirag, when you submit this form, the owner will be able to see that. Well, that's great. I'll say it's an excellent video. I can say need more video content, and I can then go and continue to video, but obviously I need to submit that form first. So as soon as I do that, then the video is going to resume from where it is. So usually it doesn't take this long, but it's most probably my internet that's there. Great. So the form's gone, and so I can carry on watching that video. So the idea here is that obviously you can build little surveys or kind of question and answers, or if you're doing kind of in-house training courses, then build a set of questions for the attendees to answer those. And so if I go back to my forms, and you can see I've got one response now. So in the response, that's there. And there's my comment, need more video content as well. So nice little way to bring that kind of interactivity and integration, if you like, from both Microsoft Forms and Microsoft Stream Video as well. So, very nice use case to build that in there. Okay, let's go back to the slides. So we looked at the video sharing channels, teams. We looked at the watch lists as well, and also being able to embed our video with the form as well inside it. And we had a quick look at the SharePoint as well in there as well, being able to bring stream experience inside your SharePoint. Okay, great. So kind of that's so far what we looked at is the general integration experience between Teams, SharePoint, as well as Microsoft Stream in both of those tools. And Yammer is no different. If anything, as Microsoft kind of keep marketing that it's a year of Yammer, and yes, they've pushed out the new experience. So we now all have a kind of a brand new experience or refreshed for Yammer. They've named obviously from groups now to communities, but they're kind of same thing. Yes, it's all about your conversations, whether it's company-wide or a specific team, or even a set of geographic groups you may have. And then also your, kind of a differentiator, if you like, is being able to post questions and create quick polls, if you like. Yes, Microsoft Teams can do all that, but from a Yammer perspective, especially when it's kind of used for a company-wide collaboration, then these tools are very kind of irrelevant compared to Microsoft Teams, because otherwise you end up doing two different things in two different apps. And then, of course, you can praise your colleagues or kind of, show a fancy badge, and also being able to post kind of formal announcements in a kind of a formatted way. So that's Yammer. That's always been there in terms of what Yammer can do. But for those of you who are not familiar, then do take a look. But it's obviously you need to enable that on your Microsoft 365 if you do wish to use Yammer for your company-wide community-based collaboration. And so when you look at the examples in terms of the types of communities that you can create, typically they tend to be communities of interest, or even by practice, whether that's engineers or the salespeople, but also being able to create functional based communities as well. So that's kind of lending expertise. So if you're a kind of a growing global community organization, and you've got, like, say in the Europe, all the tech guys, everything else, and you've got like a developing country where you have kind of presence, then you can you're able to lend support, and through Yammer you can actually help each other out, your colleagues in different parts of the geographies, but also being able to have kind of if you like, a managers group as well. So having those emails going out in a kind of a command and control kind of fashion, you can have a single Yammer community group called managers. So all your comms from an organization perspective can go to all your managers in that one single Yammer community. And also you got some of those fun-based communities as well. So whether you're launching new products or you're buying a new software, really doesn't matter. We can have all those kind of Yammer-based communities to kind of engage everybody in different conversations as well as different groups. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea in terms of what you can do with Yammer communities. The integrations perspective, it is, it's kind of deep in a way, because obviously Microsoft Teams, especially recently when the Yammer Communities kind of app got kind of embedded in Microsoft Teams. So we'll look at that in a minute. But yes, you're able to bring your entire interface for your Yammer inside Microsoft Teams, so still not having to leave Teams, but also being able to further configure your SharePoint pages to include Yammer conversations and the highlights, and being able to choose specific topics, with hashtags if you're following any particular conversations, but also Yammer communities or a specific member of the staff who you might be following, who you might want to subscribe to. And then also being able to bring into your kind of stream as well, in particular with live events and upload sharing. So what you can do in Microsoft Teams is exactly what you can do in Stream, being able to obviously post your links on your Stream videos and create those events. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So I'm just going to close the forms down, and Stream and marketing. I need that. Okay, I'll leave that. So in my Microsoft Teams, I've got my app already pinned to there. But again, you can have, if this was not uninstalled, you can uninstall it now. And if I go into then back to install it, so whether your organization has deployed it or if it's available for you, then you can still go and search for that in your apps connectors in there as well. So if I go in Yammer, so it comes up as communities. And you can simply do either, add the whole Yammer app in there or add it to a specific team. So if I go and say add to a team, then I get options as to which team or channel I want to put that Yammer app in there. So I can either choose those channels that's listed, and as you know, every team created in Microsoft Teams has got a general channel. So by default, that to me is a very bit of an annoying experience. But anyways, you have that, and you can then go into, say, sales, for example, and I might put that in Sales West, US sales team. So here I can then go and say either I can set that up as a tab or I can set up as a connector. So if I set up as a tab, then obviously it's just going to put that tab in there. So within here, I can choose my sources of that information in terms of Yammer group or Yammer topic. By the way, Yammer group is Yammer community, so that's something that may change in the future, but I can choose Yammer group, for example, and then if I go into here, say leadership, then I've got leadership group in there as well. Or I can just choose Yammer topic, and depending on if there's a hashtags in there, products or whatever that you want to use, then you can actually use that as well. So you can do that, but I'll go back to group again and just change that to leadership. So you can have your Yammer tab inside that as a leadership tab. So all your conversations, updates, announcements, everything then shows up inside your Microsoft Teams tab as well, which is kind of rich experience for that within that. But also I can go into a particular channel here. So if I go back to, say, my Sales East channel, then in here I can also add my connectors. So I can add my Yammer connector to this particular Sales East channel. So I've got all my list of connectors, from third-party marketplace, but also I can go and choose Yammer in there as well. So I'm going to go and configure that Yammer for this particular channel. So it says obviously by default it's going to use my Yammer account. Then I can go and say I want to search for specific groups. I've only got a few groups in there, so I'll go and say operations. I can add maybe another group as well, leadership, and that'll be okay for now. But I can either choose to receive all the messages or new conversations or announcements. And this is probably a good way of doing it. So if, for example, you have a training community, training Yammer community group, and if you're launching, say, new courses or new policies or whichever it is, then if a way you want to subscribe this, then you can actually choose this as a new conversations or new announcements, and not to have received, say, all the messages, the replies and everything else. So it's a good way to control that. But also you can choose, depending on who you follow, then you can actually choose, say in this case, Adele is one of the users. And if you don't follow that user, then it will detect in Teams that, obviously you don't follow Adele at all. So you really can't subscribe to her. So you need to follow somebody in Yammer first in order to then be able to subscribe notifications from that particular user. So as it says, you're not following Adele. And so I'll leave that for now. I can choose my keywords. Any part of the conversations or updates I can choose to receive that commentary inside my Teams. And also last but not least is choosing my frequency of updates that I get. So whether that's every 15 minutes or maybe once a week, doesn't matter. I can choose anything in between. And then I'll just go ahead and save that. And so that's kind of a good way to automate, if you like, your Yammer experience for that particular conversation that I want to subscribe to from those communities inside there as well. So there I've got one configured, and I can go and configure more Yammer conversations with different criteria from different for different purposes that I want. So hopefully that kind of gives you a brief kind of overview in there. So for team members, they can see that this has now been set up, and then all the messages will then kind of trickle through inside your team channel. Okay. So that's kind of the Yammer tab in Teams. We had a quick look. as the Teams connectors and what you can do with those. And then also you got your SharePoint integration in there as well. So if we go back to our sales and marketing, and let's modify that page. So again, building the richness of this page. So far we've got our news, we've got activity, we've also got our stream videos in there. But let's go and add on the right side here. So go and search for Yammer web part. So again, I get two options. Either I can add Yammer conversations or highlights. So let's go and add the conversations. And so within the conversations, I've got a few options that I can configure. I can choose my communities or a user or even a topic as well within the Yammer conversations, or simply just bring the home feed and display up to 12 conversations inside this area here. So once I've done that, then you can see I can get my Yammer conversations all coming out in this area of the page, which is nice, and you can control what you want to display, a specific team updates or an organization-wide update or any kind of things in there. And the good thing about this is that I can then reply and engage inside Yammer within the SharePoint as well. I'll go and add another one, which was the Yammer highlights, just to show you the difference. So if I go into Yammer highlights, and then here what I get is either I can go and search. So I'm going to choose operations. So I can either choose top conversations, popular conversations, and I can preview that as well to see what that's going to look like. So as and when I change these options, I get this preview here. But in this case, I might just choose latest conversations so that it doesn't really clutter my space here. And then I'll just go and publish that page. So now when I look through this page, then I've got my news, I've got my products based videos collections from that stream channel, but I've also got my conversations coming from Yammer, and then I've got my other conversations coming from the Yammer home feed as well. So if I then head back to my teams, and if I go back to my general, I'll add that tab again. Go and add SharePoint. And I'll add the home page again. Then any updates, even regardless of me being in Teams or not, and that whole page now in a single tab is now really rich with all the news and the conversations and Yammer here as well as on the main part of the body. But you can see how that's kind of, if you like, put the page inside, how it's kind of all integrated together. So I can maximize that page or the tab rather. So I can bring the whole experience of the entire SharePoint page by minimizing that menu into here. So hopefully that's kind of given you kind of a whirlwind tour, if you like, of all the integration experiences, if you like. And if we just jump back to the slides, then we looked at these Yammer highlights in SharePoint, and that kind of, if you like, brings me to the end. So I really kind of appreciate your time for taking and joining my session today. And so I'll just head over to the question and answers if there is any. But yeah, I'd like to say a big thanks to the organizers, Patrick, Isabel, and other organizers, and Chloe for moderating my session here. And I wish you all the well, and any questions or feedback, please feel free to drop to my techchirag.com blog site, and hopefully I'll see you in Paris soon or next year at this event. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Chirag. It was very interesting. So
great, thanks
for this last session of the day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have some questions. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so good point. Microsoft lists our SharePoint list under the covers. It always is. SharePoint is the hub for a lot of services. So yeah, I've gone quiet. No, that's fine. Wow. Okay. Thanks very much. Yeah, I think if there's anybody who would like to ask questions, please feel free to do so. No, I'm sure there's one question. Okay, no worries.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, no worries. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.